Disclaimer. The host has been instructed not to engage in the detonation of any sort of explosive device or non-explosive device that is rendered explosive by the taping or gluing of said device to an explosive device.
From the basement of the Hopheads Guide to the Galaxy World Headquarters, the Hopheads Guide podcast presents
Beer Shorts.
Hey there, Hopheads and Beer Geeks. Welcome to another episode of Beer Shorts. This one brought to you by a Patreon himself.
Robert Keplinger.
And Robert was a participant of one of our beer trading events, one of our patrons-only beer trading events, even though we had some people in there that weren't patrons, but soon-to-be patrons-only beer trading events.
The box that was heard around the world.
The boxes that were heard around the world. But you know what? Robert sent us some really good beers from a new brewery in Bedford, Texas.
Oh, yeah.
And those beers are from Turning Point Brewing. And we had some of their beers on our earlier show. And we decided to open up the last one.
Because of the name. We had to because of the name.
Yes. And the name is?
The Johnny Karate Super Awesome Musical Explosion Show.
Which, if you don't know anything, you would still think that that's an awesome name for a beer.
Yeah.
When I first heard that, I was like, man, that sounds familiar. But then when we finally looked it up, it's the name of an episode from Parks and Recreation.
Yep.
Which is an excellent show.
Yeah, you just started watching. How far are you? About what?
I'm like midway through season 4.
Okay.
Never watched an episode before. Started watching it because of Aziz Ansari. I watched his show on Netflix and was like, okay, well, where'd this guy come from? I got to check out other shows that he's been on, and found Parks and Recreation and was like, all right, I got to check this show out. And I just kind of watched the first like 3 or 4 episodes and got hooked.
Nice.
And it was on NBC for 7 seasons.
Yeah.
So, I should have heard about it, I guess, but...
Well, I always heard about it, but it was always one of those, I felt like it was a take off The Office.
It did come in that time of being right after The Office.
The reality comedy show, but it's not a reality show. So I love The Office enough that I was like, man, I can't deal with another one of those.
And it had Rashida Jones, who was on The Office.
Yeah.
So it kind of had the same feel.
So I remember watching the first episode and saying, yeah, this is funny, but I still have The Office. And that was it. And I just kept watching The Office. So I felt bad for them. I think they got pushed that way, but I know they have a huge following.
Well, they made it 7 seasons, you can't feel too bad for them.
Oh, yeah.
And so far, what I've watched so far has been really good. And I'm sure there's people listening right now to this episode going, oh my God, I can't believe you are just now watching The Office.
I know. Robert probably sent this. They're totally going to know what this name of this beer is.
Totally going to know this, man.
And they're going to laugh and go, oh, that's so awesome.
Not going to know.
I'm like, I like the name. It's an awesome name.
Totally not going to see that there's lactose in this beer.
Somebody's going to be pooping.
So, So the Johnny Karate Super Awesome Musical Explosion Show from Turning Point Beer Company in Bedford, Texas is... Okay, so before we talk about this beer,
Okay.
let's talk about the other beers that we had
Okay.
from this brewery.
All right.
A brewery that opened spring of this year.
Yep. That's what their website says.
That's what their website says.
And that's all their
This is
website
all we
says.
know about this brewery, except that the phone call that we made to them to find out that there was in fact lactose
in one of their beers. Yep.
And I'm impressed with this brewery so far.
Oh yeah, out of 4 beers, I've tried 3 because I couldn't do the lactose one.
But all 4 beers have been excellent. Double dry hop Dingle
Bop.
Dingle Bop. I was
Yeah.
about to say Dingle Borg. Dingle Bop was really good.
Yep.
What
Dallas
was-
dollar sign.
Dallas dollar sign
Yeah.
was it also a double dry hop,
Yep.
right? That one was excellent.
Yeah.
And then
You had the
Modena
our mantra.
Mantra. Yeah, Mantra was the one that had lactose in it and was also an excellent beer. So all in all, before we put our score on this beer,
Yeah.
I just want to say, well done, Turning Point beer.
Oh yeah.
Well done. I'd like to try more of their beers.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. I looked on there on tap. They have plenty of other beers I would love to try
Yeah. Yeah.
that did not have lactose. So it didn't become the brownie karate awesome explosion show. I don't know where the karate would fit in.
Well, you never know. There's some interesting techniques that happen when you got the poopy in your pants.
It breaks bricks. So overall, just going back to our new scoring system of 42, which is a great system.
I'm loving this system so far. I
Um,
mean, we've only scored 2 beers so far in this
Yeah,
system.
it's-
Already,
it's
I'm
going-
excited. I'm
it's going
excited
really
about the
good.
42 system.
For aroma, I felt it a little light. I was hoping I was going to get a lot from the aroma. It kind of faltered on that. With the carbonation, I thought it should have had a good feel and seeing what hops were in it.
Eldorado, Azaka, Hallertau Blanc, and Citra.
Yeah, one of those should have karate kicked me to the face
Yeah.
as I went to go smell it, and I
Yeah.
didn't get any of that.
So and I agree with you. I feel like there should have been a little bit of spiciness, a little bit of nice tropical fruits, and especially with the Hallertau Blanc, I wanted that white wine
yeah,
kind of, when it comes to white wine, I always kind of feel like I should get this aroma of like a dull sweetness.
yeah,
And I really didn't get it. I honestly got a little oxidation, which, I'm kind of sensitive to oxidation anyway. But when you're dry hopping that much, you're going to get a little oxidation, I think.
yeah.
So, I think that's tolerable. But you're right. It was light. It wasn't what I expected.
Yeah. Appearance to me was up between that. So for hazy IPAs, I always go based off of juice. Mine was like between a pineapple to orange. Mm-hmm. It was a little darker than a pineapple juice, but not quite full orange color. For mouthfeel, it was kind of light on the mouthfeel. I mean, it had the dryness at the end, but I was, with all those hops, I was expecting more in the mouthfeel. And I didn't feel like I was getting what the Johnny Awesomeness music show explosion should have been.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I thought I should have had, and the whole bad part, I felt like maybe I shouldn't have had this beer after the double dry hop double bock or whatever
Dingle Bop.
the Dingle Bop, because that beer almost had everything that I thought was going to be in this beer.
And a little bit of sweetness, too.
Yeah, so
Yeah. I agree with you. I felt like there was a soft bitterness to it. It wasn't something that was, it wasn't sharp. It wasn't like a sharp, dry finish. It was a slightly sweet finish, but not as much as I would expect from a 10.8% beer. And one thing that I did enjoy about this was it had a great mouthfeel. It was full bodied. The carbonation wasn't overboard. So you had this nice kind of creamy mouthfeel to it that with the softly kind of bitter finish, it went well with the beer. It wasn't overly sweet. One of the things that I kind of think happens a lot with these big beers, these big IPAs, is that sweetness. You get this great mouthfeel and this great body, but then you also get this sweet finish that is cloyingly sweet and dries out your palate to the point where you're just kind of wrecked.
Yeah.
My overall impression to this was the alcohol was a little harsh. There was a little bit of burning that just kind of like the overall kind of profile of the beer, everything went together really well, but I still had this kind of alcoholic burn that lingered with me a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, like I felt like, I don't know, like with the name, with seeing with the description of the hops, I was expecting a little bit more from it, and it fell a little short. So my overall impression, like, it seemed like it had a lot of alcohol, but not any of the characteristics of the hops to overcome the taste of that alcohol.
So you wanted almost it to dry out.
Yeah.
Yeah. You wanted a little bit more hops to dry it out a little bit. Yeah.
But desirability, I don't know if it just based it, like if I just had this beer alone first, not having the other ones from the brewery, I would probably have a higher desirability. But now having the other beers, I'm desiring those more than this one. So it kind of dropped it down. Like if I would happen to be that area, and I would probably, hey, sure, I'll take one of those, but it's not something I'm going to sought after. It might be something just to maybe get and then push on to another BTF just because of the name, and just so he's going to pop it open and say, hey, this is awesome name. Awesome. Thanks for sharing it. Kind of thing. What amazes me is actually rated really high on Untappd.
It is. Yeah. It's probably one of their highest rated beers.
Yeah. Where I think the double dry hop should be rated higher. And so that pushed it down, and I felt really bad that, like, I don't want to keep basing it off having the double dry hop before it, but it just kind of, we went that way because I had the label towards me and you were picking out the beers, so it's your fault.
So we had the double dry hop Dingle Bop and the double dry hops. What was the other one?
Texas Money Star or Money Sign. So
we had the double dry hop Dingle Bop and the double dry hop Texas Money Sign. Out of those two, what was your favorite?
The double dry hop Dingle Bop.
Okay. Yeah, and I kind of agree with you because the mosaic, I think, in that beer was a little more prevalent, and I enjoyed that one. Now, with this one, overall desirability, that finish, that alcoholic burn, is what kind of turned me off a little bit to this beer. It was not balanced the way I anticipated. I really would have liked to have seen a little bit more. I mean, not that you want to see a lot of sweet in your IPA, but just a little bit more of a malty backbone to kind of hold up those hops. Overall desirability, I would definitely trade this beer if I were the Robert Keplingers of the world.
Yeah.
This is definitely a beer that I would send out as a representation of the beers that are happening in my area.
Right now. Oh yeah.
This is something that I think, especially for a brewery that is months old, this is a representation of a beer that you need to send out.
I'm with you on that one. Like, it is one of those, I would not say like this is, a terrible beer. I'm glad I got to try it.
Yeah.
So it's one of those beers I would still throw in the package and be like, it's still rating a 4.4. Like when I was pulling out the beers out of the box, I was doing my regular thing where I put them on an Untappd list just in case if I go back, I don't have to research of, oh God, what was this by who again? I have them in my list on Untapped, and I could easily check them in a little bit quicker. And as I'm doing these Turning Point ones, I'm like 4-1, 4-2, 4-4. I'm like, holy crap, Robert, what are you doing? You're sending me the best shit right offhand. So
Right, yeah.
I was really
and that's
amazed.
great.
Yeah, that's
right out of the gate.
Right
that's
out of the gate,
that's
Robert.
the kind of trade buddy you
That's
want.
what I
right
want
there,
to see
man.
right there. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate it, and it worked out really like my originality, like they went back to pop culture and took a show that was, I would say, popular to mildly popular amongst people, and took an episode and took a great name from it. And I think that would make like if I walked in and just saw that name, I've probably seen one episode of Parks and Rec.
Right.
I would go straight for that beer just by the name,
Yeah.
hands down, and wouldn't care, any which way or another. So I really put that high scores on that and there are a basic start off brewing, so their designs, they're pretty basic, and I appreciate that. And they're doing a silver can label. Get them a little bit more money, they may do something different on the label. So
See, I like their labels because they're colorful and clean and simple.
yeah,
It's so they basically have this this label that has a lot of colorful different shapes, kind of like a kaleidoscope type kind of background to it, with the name just printed in a nice clean font. And it's the same way with the double dry hopped Dingle Bop. It was the same way with the
Texas
mantra.
the mantra.
So the mantra was great because it quite literally was just a plain and simple label that just said mantra. And I like that. To me, that's a nice clean look and a nice clean labeling that is, it's going to catch people's eye. And now when you're talking about originality in the name, you're talking about a show that even if you haven't seen the show, you're going to see that name. What is that all about?
Yeah.
I want to try that beer.
As you're typing in, like, oh, I wonder what kind of hops they use, and you start typing in the name of the beer, and like it's going to lead you totally somewhere else.
Yeah. All right, so let's get down to the nitty gritty. Out of 42, where did you score this beer?
29.
29. Wow. I didn't expect that. I figured you'd be a little higher than that. But I think we're kind of on the same page in the terms that there were a few harsh characteristics. There were a few sharp edges on this beer that kind of threw me off guard. And that's what kind of lowered my score a little bit. I, however, gave it a 36.5.
Okay. Now you're throwing half points in.
I'm going to throw a half point. Dude, it's my scoring system. I'm going to do what I want.
Based off 42, now at 42 and a half.
No, I'm not. 36.5. I'm not going to throw an extra half on the end of 42. But, I was scoring this beer pretty highly until I got to my overall impression, which was calculating in kind of how it finished for me. And again, that kind of harsh and sharp edges that the alcohol brought, along with to me, it just wasn't balanced right with the hops. And now that I look at the label a little bit, the way that the label looks, the label has a lot of little sharp edges on the little kaleidoscope colors that are going on there. So that's fitting a little bit. But overall with this beer, 36.5, you're at a 29.
29, yep.
Overall with Turning Point beer.
Oh, I'm like, I want more. Like, it's...
Yeah. I'm still at a 36.5.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there like, I think that this is a great representation of the beers that are coming out of Turning Point beer.
Oh, yeah.
So bottom line is, if you have a good beer trading buddy that
In
can
Texas.
get you some Turning Point beers out of Bedford, Texas, go for it.
Oh, yeah.
Get them. And while you're at it, become a member of the Hopheads and Beer Geeks, because without the Hopheads and Beer Geeks, we are just two guys bullshitting in our basement.
Oh, in your basement.
Well, my basement. We're just two guys bullshitting in my basement.
Our basement, like, Mom, we're almost done.
Don't lie. Yeah, it's about time that the listeners finally know that you live.
You want some meatloaf? Mom, make some meatloaf
underneath the stairs in my basement. And while you're out there on the Facebook machine, look up Beards by Nick and go to his store and buy some beard products, because it's the beard products that keep your beard soft. I think that's how it works.
No, it's No Shave November, so obviously you're going to be a little itchy and scratchy.
Itchy.
So go to Beards by Nick. He makes some great oils and beard balms and beard wipes. I didn't ever think I would need a beard wipe.
Gotta have the beard wipe.
And I actually had to use one the other day because I got some barbecue sauce deep up in there. Like, it was deep up in there. It was
good, didn't it?
Oh, yeah, dude. Yeah, it made me nice and refreshed for the rest of the day. I even like beard shampoo. I didn't even think that was a thing until you gave me a bottle of it. I'm like, okay, yeah, that works out really well. So go check him out. Yep,
Beards by Nick.
He actually has a website, and it doesn't say opening spring of 2018. So go check him out.